We came today to pay a visit to sculptor Jorge Palacios to learn about the constructive process of his sculptures. Along the interview, Palacios will reveal firsthand some of his best tricks and tips. We have seen and heard many of your interviews, Jorge. In most of them, you talk on what you intend to convey through your sculptures, on the capacity of expression of your art. But do you keep your constructive method as a secret?
No, todo lo contrario. Soy de aquellos que piensan que los
No, on the contrary. I'm among those who think that knowledge must be shared. And yes, I gave some lectures or wrote some papers on the features or quality of wood as outdoor material, but I have not yet talked about the method I use to transform the material.
Son muchos los escultores que conocemos.
We know many sculptors, but doing a little research, there are actually only a few who do their own work themselves. What is your stand on this issue?
Para cualquier escultor, esta es una decisión personal.
For any sculptor, this is a personal decision. For me, I think that working the material directly by myself enhances my creative process. This is something that I would like to keep doing, provided circumstances permit.
Through our work, we have had the opportunity to know the works of many craftsmen and a few artists, as is your case. We were surprised to see everything so clean and neat. Has this something to do with Suction Art ACA 5000?
Me resultaría muy complicado intentar transmitir equilibrio, inercia.
For me, it will be very complicated trying to convey balance, inertia, harmony from chaos. This is why for me it's essential to count on both an organized working system and a good extraction system. And yes, of course, the suction arm is really an easy solution for everyday's work.
Es realmente cómodo en el día a día.
We have noticed you use a linear sander Duplex LS 130. What could you say about this machine?
Considero que es una máquina muy interesante para los escultores.
I think this is a very interesting machine for sculptors, and it allows making a counter mold of the profile or shape to be sanded, so it can then sand really complex shapes.
What makes you up for Festool sanders compared to other brands?
En las máquinas, como en el arte, es en los pequeños detalles o sutilezas en donde se marca la diferencia.
With machines, as with art, small details or subtle things mark the difference. For instance, in the three tools above, using always the same type of sandpaper makes work much easier.
And how do you convert models like this to the large formats through which we are used to appreciate your work?
Bueno, vamos a ver, son muchos los métodos constructivos que podrían emplearse en la elaboración de esculturas complejas.
Well, there are many constructive methods that could be used to build sculptures like this one. In this case, for Mercury in motion, starting from the drawing, I have taken the transference, the reference angles of every level, and I have carried out some double angle cut using the capex, resulting in a constructive composition or approximation to the shape.
Constructiva o aproximación formal.
How do you assemble these strips or planks with this double beveling you refer to in order for them to constitute a single volume?
En este caso me resultó muy cómodo el sistema Centrotec para taladrar e intercambiar la punta Tor usada para esta fijación.
In this case, the Centroset system was very useful for drilling and changing the torque screw used for this joint. These screws are concealed and remained unnoticed. All the assembly could have also been carried out using Domino XL, and because of the use of Akoya wood for outdoors, we could have used Domino dowels available in Sipo wood, with the added benefit that, being wood, the coefficient of expansion and contraction is very similar to the material of the sculptor.
El mismo material con el que está realizado la escultura.
After that coarse approximation to the shape with the block already configured, how do you rough the sculpture?
Bueno, vamos a ver, en esta parte del proceso...
Well, at this stage of the process, we must still remove several centimeters of material.
El modo habitual, el modo convencional de realizar esta parte del proceso sería con el empleo de la huilla del martillo, algo que con
The conventional mode to carry out this part of the process will be through chisel and hammer. This is something that, in view of the large volume, can be cumbersome, although evidently the chisel is always required in specific corners or crevices.
En este caso he utilizado un cepillo, el cepillo
In this case, I have used a planer HL850 with a rabbiting head, making parallel grooves in the same way as with the chisel, which has allowed for a rather fast and easy roughing of the sculpture.
Llevar a cabo un desbaste de la escultura bastante ágil y rápido.
What is the next stage in this process?
En este punto es donde el rendimiento de arranque del material se vuelve más necesario que nunca.
At this point, the rate of stock removal becomes more important than ever. At this stage of the process, I use 3 machines.
Las RAS 180 me sirve para entrar en las zonas cóncavas. Y la segunda máquina que utilizo para este proceso sería la lijadora de banda BS75, que la uso para las zonas más amplias.
First, I use RAS 180 to work on the concave areas. Second, I use belt sander BS75 to work the wider areas. With vertical sculptures requiring many hours of work, the stationary Festool leg are of big help using them as levers, swapping the hands. Last, I used Rotex 150, which is a very handy machine, not only because of its stock's removal capacity, but because of its very high yield to weight ratio. I use it with Robin Grid 24 and especially with the soft pad, as increasing the abrasion surface area is very important at this stage of the process.
La uso con el grano 24 de Rubin y sobre todo con el plato blando, porque es muy importante en esta parte del proceso aumentar la cantidad de superficie de abrasión.
Tell us, Jorge, how do you achieve the maximum yield at this stage of the sanding process?
Aplico el método clásico de Festool de 3 órbitas.
I apply the conventional Festool method of 3 orbits, which is recommended for the car industry, but in my case, instead of 3 orbits, I use 4, with legs 11, 7, 5, and 3. And at the same time, I change orbit, I progressively increase the grid from 80 to 180, 240 or 320. What I'm convinced of is that these legs are especially light, just over 1 kilo more or less, and it allows working many hours barely, noticing you are tired.
Y esto permite estar trabajando con ellas un montón de horas sin apenas notar el cansancio.
We saw that you had the belt sander BS105 with the frame on ready. At which stage of the process do you use it?
Hay 2 momentos en los que esta máquina es muy importante para los escultores.
There are 2 occasions when this machine is very important for sculptors. First, it could be when preparing the block, the dowel, when the sculptor must prepare the sculptor block and start carving. We need a perfect plane in order to glue the dowel together with other dowels and other parts to make up the block. And this is the only portable tower tool I know to achieve a perfect plane. The second occasion, or the second function required at the sculptor workshop, is when the work is almost finished and a resting plane is needed in order that the sculptor should not limp at the exhibition. Well, a couple of weeks ago, we had these sculptors turned upside just to perform this type of planing with this machine.
En el taller de un escultor es cuando la obra está casi terminada y hay que sacarle un plano de apoyo para que la escultura, cuando está en la exposición, pues no coge. Y bueno, pues hace un par de semanas tuvimos esta misma escultura dada la vuelta, precisamente llevando a cabo este tipo de planificado con esta máquina.
When is the sanding process of the sculptor deemed as complete?
Vamos a ver, hay esculturas que requieren, por el tipo de madera con el que están hechas, determinadas calidades de lijado con gran...
Well, some sculptors need specific sanding qualities and a function of the type of wood using fine grit, so in some occasions I have used 1500, 1800 grit, but this is not always necessary. Last, once I have decided the sculpture is complete, it is normally of a big help using the Festool polisher Shinex for the application of a number of products. I'm interested in this machine and I like the design because it allows, due to its ergonomics and lights, working some curvatures and shapes in a very flexible way.
El diseño, ya que te permite, por su ergonomía y por su ligereza, trabajar de modo muy ágil con algunas curvaturas y formas.
Si un escultor que está empezando y que está...
If a sculptor who is just starting and configuring his workshop asks about the essential tool required, apart of course from hammer and chisel, what would you recommend?
Vamos a ver, he trabajado con muchísimas marcas de lijadoras. distintas, pero sin duda...
Well, I work with many different brands of sanders, but no doubt I will recommend Rotex 90 or Rotex 150, depending on the format of the work, because although Rotex 90 looks like a small machine, it actually has surprisingly high roughing capacity in surface sanding. Furthermore, these two machines will allow carrying out three different types of processes, from roughing, through sanding itself, to polishing, all three things on a single machine. But above all, as a tip, I will say to the person who is just starting at the abrasive itself, is as important as the machine to be used. It will be useless for Festool to develop the abrasive refrigeration system multi-jet stream if we pay attention to anybody's tip saying that any abrasive can perform in every situation. Actually, it is essential to use the proper abrasive for every occasion.
Esta persona que está empezando es que tan importante es la máquina que se use como el abrasivo en sí mismo. De nada serviría que Festool desarrolle un sistema de refrigeración del abrasivo multi-jet stream si nosotros hacemos caso a los consejos que nos puedan dar unos y otros, diciéndonos que cualquier abrasivo puede valer en cualquier ocasión, ¿no? Realmente es muy necesario el usar el abrasivo apropiado para cada máquina.
At what time you said you feel the wood in your hands as moldable as clay itself? Does the existence of such an ample variety of tools in the market make this feeling stronger?
Sí, vamos a ver, el sentimiento siempre ha estado ahí. De hecho, el poder...
Yes, let's see, the feeling has always been there. In fact, having access to the appropriate machines makes it possible the fulfillment of the idea, and thus the expression of the same.
Well, Jorge, in the name of Festool, many thanks for the interview.